Welcome to the Embodiment Matters podcast with me, Erin Giesemann Rabke, and my beloved Carl Rabke. We don't have the luxury of living in ordinary times, but rather we live in extraordinary ones where the way we live in the next decade will make a huge difference in the future of life on planet Earth. We aspire in this tapestry of rich conversations drawn from a variety of wise perspectives to share resources to help you embody the wisdom, compassion, and skillful actions that are needed during these times. You can find out more about our classes and sign up for our newsletter at embodimentmatters.com. You can also become a supporting member of our podcast with a small monthly donation. Look for Embodiment Matters at patreon.com.
Greetings, listener friends. I am so excited to share this episode, this conversation I had with Zuza Gonçalves. So I met Zuza in Berkeley at a Bobby McFerrin Circle Songs retreat. And I have been wanting to study with Bobby for decades, ever since having been introduced to the Circle Songs album back in the 90s. And he's always been a real model for me around creativity and learning and spontaneity and play. And when I went to the retreat, what I was so struck by was not just Bobby, but this whole community around vocal improvisation and play. And I fell in love with each of the 18 teachers that were there, all these beautiful, creative, genius weirdos with their own unique style and way to help people find their voice and freedom and capacity to make these beautiful emergent songs. And the whole community of participants there from these different circle singing and body music and vocal improv communities around the world. And one of the teachers that had such a strong impact was Zuza. And I remember so vividly the first song he led without a word and starting with little snaps and claps. And suddenly this whole room of 120 people are in circling patterns and songs and harmonies and rhythms. And it just had this feeling of like original human music to me. And I was like, whatever this is, I would like more of it. And so I did the Musica do Circolo facilitator training with Zuza and Ronaldo Crispin and Pedro Consorci. And I just loved it. It was one of the most impactful, beautiful trainings I've done. So in this conversation, we talk a lot about this realm of vocal improvisation around Zuza, calling it an ancestral practice, this old original musical language, and ways that can get lost when music becomes performance or, having spectators and audience, and how we can outsource our musicality to the artists and forget that we all have this inherent rhythmical and music capacity and that it's part of our original language. We also talk about the benefit of improvisation and play and how that carries into facing the deep challenges and struggles we face globally. We talk about the realm of silence in music. Just so many things. And then Zuza leads a wonderful little practice, maybe a third of the way into the conversation. So I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. I will put information. I'm going to share some links from several of the teachers from the Circle Song School and also for the upcoming practitioner trainings for Musica do Circolo. They're starting trainings in the US and in Brazil and in Europe this summer. And as I said, I highly recommend those if you're drawn. And then for those of you living in Utah area, I'll be doing a series of movement and music as medicine workshops in different canyons and parks through the summer. So you can find out information on that on our website, Embodiment Matters. And I'll also be doing an online version of that too, for those of you who don't live here. So enjoy the conversation. And you can find out more about the trainings at musicadocirculo.com and also more about the Circle Song School at circlesongs.com. And I'll include those links in the show notes as well. So welcome, Zuza. I'm so grateful to be talking with you this morning. And yeah, just really happy to dive into this whole world of vocal improvisation and music with you.
Thank you, Carl. I was talking to my partner and she said, "Oh, where are you going?" And I told her, "I'm going to the US real quick. I'll be right back." And that's kind of how it's, to be able to connect with you and exchange with you in a different language. And also very happy to be here. I was looking forward to this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to start. You posted a video maybe a couple weeks ago where you talked about vocal improvisation as ancestral practice, and it feels like that's a good jumping off place. Like, what do you mean by that?
Mhm. There's a, there's this project called The Well, where it's a project started by Rihanna, which is an amazing singer, improviser, really a teacher to us all. She's worked with Bobby McFerrin for many years, very closely since the 90s, I guess. And she developed her own style of her own material on vocal improvisation. And she started this project with some of us, with some of the people who were closer to her and were doing stuff in this scene. And and now there's a website, a beautiful website where the whole community is getting together. But it started with us recording a few videos, like every one of the originating members, a video about vocal improvisation, and then I talked a bit about my perspective. Um, yeah, it doesn't come from a historically or scientifically proved place, but it's just this sensation uh, that singing together in an improvised way must have been one of the first things we did together.
Yeah, yeah.
It must have been part of our earlier rituals, and even before song, and even
Mhm.
before language.
Or language, yeah.
Uh, there's this poem. I won't be able to quote it properly, but it talks about like there is a place before language, and I'll meet you there. And I think the vocal improv, the musical place is that's what this place is for me.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually my experience in first meeting you at the Berkeley Circle Song School. And when you led the first song and got this whole room moving and clapping and stepping without a word, like it felt like this deep remembering of like, I've never done this before. And it feels like coming home.
Mm. Yes, it is for me. It's a way of being together. That and music is a way of being together. But normally it's very clouded with stress, tension, judgment,
Mhm.
performance judgment, and all those elements. And what I think uh, we share in these circles is what I share in these circles is my experience cultivating that space that where we can access an experience that is not so clouded by these elements, where we can let go. And
Hmm.
we're invited to let go in many ways. Like, not using words is an invitation for us to go to a different place than this rational, analytical, judgmental one. And
Sure.
there are many others going to the body also. Uh, and again, are not like thought out strategies, but things that came out of the experience. In the search for this place that has a certain quality, right? So in the search for this quality of shared presence, I started noticing, okay, it feels this way when I don't use words. It feels this way when we go to body percussion. It feels this way when we move.
Hmm.
It feels this way when I sing from that place.
Yeah.
And then it just became a feeling, like an internal state that I want to share, and that I have the tools that help me share.
Mm. Yeah. There's so much in that. Just the way that it crosses different cultural linguistic barriers, that there is this sense of a like more of a field consciousness with that. And
Yeah.
as you were describing, like all of the things that cloud music and our inherent musicality, I think it's very different from what I've seen and experienced down in Brazil compared to growing up in the US or in Europe, that most of the people I know in the US don't don't sing, don't sing on a regular basis, don't
Mhm.
have like there's this small group of musicians or performers who kind of caught the bus early on in life, and then the rest are
Mhm.
I when I tell people about the work I'm doing, they're like, "Oh, I would love that, but I can't sing. Oh, I'm tone deaf. Oh, I can't keep rhythm."
Yeah.
And and I experienced myself like that for a good part of my life. Um, I actually have this funny story. When I was in fourth grade, we had the opportunity to see what kind of instruments would be available for band in fifth grade. And I had really wanted to be a drummer. Like I had so much energy and I was always tapping on things. And I was like, I'm going to be a drummer. And when he went through and demonstrated all the instruments, he got to the clarinet and at the end of it, he took off the mouthpiece and said, and the great thing about the clarinet is you can use the mouthpiece as a duck caller, like, wah, 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 wah.
Mhm.
That just like captivated my attention. I was like, duck caller, clarinet. And I got the clarinet and I didn't enjoy it at all. And I didn't play well. And that was it. Like the musical training faded. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until years, decades later, coming back and having a context. It was actually with a teacher here in Salt Lake City, George Grant, who did something called drum talk and
Mhm.
creative. We did overtone chanting, and it was the first time I actually had a context of learning where it wasn't about performance and could feel like I do have a voice. I can listen. I can find rhythm that's been sort of clouded by this. And I think that's part of my joy with this work is helping to show that it's not that there are certain people that are musical or have rhythm. It's just that there are certain layers of forgetting that are on that.
Yeah. Yeah, like accessing our rhythmic, our melodic, our musical nature, because that's what it is. It is our nature.
Yeah.
And just opening spaces where we can access that. And it's I would say that from my experience in the US, I know that there is singing in the schools. I know there's of course there is a very powerful popular musical genres, like
Mhm.
unparalleled in the world, and also an unparalleled music industry. And I feel that there's a lot of, here in Brazil, of course, you've experienced a bubble, right? But
Sweet
it
bubble.
is the same. Yeah, It's the same. It's the same. People don't sing. People don't feel they can sing. And since there's not much singing in schools, even with the children, uh, it's very hard for them to access that place. But uh, in this community here, connected to the Música do Círculo project, we have been like, we were exposed to the body music community here in São Paulo by Fernando Barba and Estênio Mendes. And then I was exposed to Bobby McFerrin, and then we identified that this element of holding space for everyone's musical nature to manifest. We saw that in the things that were influencing us, even though sometimes it wasn't verbalized, it wasn't so present in the story people were telling in the discourse, but we felt it and we started, okay, let's try to, we are interested in that. So we started, me, Ronaldo, and Pedro, discussing more of that and noticing what contributed for that music to come out and what contributes to that quality of experience. And so when you come here, I feel it's a setting where, yes, we consciously try to let music as an art form. We try to leave it outside of the door in a way, you know. We try to kind of protect the experience from that, because we need to focus on, we were looking for a musical experience that can be shared by everyone. And then, of course, there's music as an art form. There's the language of music. I'm a conducting graduate. I studied music deeply. I love music as a language, as an art form. And it's something very important to me to be cultivating this, so to be studying, to be practicing. But this is not the essence of music. This is something is like castle that we built on the foundation of musical experience. So if we lose musical experience as part of our communities, as part of our way of being, that castle falls down, as it is already.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's
From
such a fundamental nutrient of human culture. And it goes back to what you talked about, how it's ancestral practice, that 99.99% of humans on this planet have had music as much as water or food or any aspect of human life, ritual, stories. And yeah, I appreciate so much how the work that you and Ronaldo and Pedro have developed gives points to re-enter into that experience and in community, and that it's not coming from one person, but it's like what grows out of each person's voice and movement and percussion.
Yeah, there's this phrase that the future is ancestral, right? We're reconnecting with things that are part of human nature, and trying to give them meaning in the world we live in today, in the context that we live in. And it's very simple, as you know, as you've experienced, as you've studied. It's simple, but simple doesn't mean necessarily easy. But the work we do is a very simple work and very unpretentious work. But it is very deep and transformative work in that simplicity of just being together, playing and letting music manifest itself. And it's like, you know, well, the way we teach music in schools, like the experience you've described. It's so, I can see it coming from a good intention, teaching music like that. I can see someone that is in love with music trying to share it like that. Uh, and I also can see how it does not work, how it, like, it has a limit of, it will work with a few people,
Hmm.
but not with most people, I would say. And then for very simple, basic reasons. So the clarinet is such a complicated instrument. And the music that you put into the clarinet is the music that lives inside of you. So how can you manifest the music? How can you play with that music before putting it into such a complex
Yeah.
instrument that it's outside of you?
Hmm.
So teaching people, just like giving them a complex instrument, complicated, challenging, from the motor, point of view, from many points of view, and then you give them a sheet music, and okay, when you see that symbol, you press that button. That is like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, that it's so much of the outside coming in rather than something inside that is being expressed outward.
Yes,
Clarinet. Yeah.
yes. You're
Hmm.
you're you're getting that person's musicality, and you're trying to access like half of 1% in that manner. That's what you'll be able to access. 1% of that person's musicality will come out through those restraints.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so we're on this exploration that's just starting, and I feel that one thing that I'm happy that we've been doing here is that I feel we have been able to many times uh, go out of the trap of music as a as art. I don't know if that's clear.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
because as a musician, I have this relation to music as art form so strong inside of me, and it's so hard to move out of it. To hear someone singing, perhaps not in perfect pitch, and not stop that flow and correct the person, but
Hmm.
just let it develop and let it flow until the listening goes deeper, the presence increases, the awareness increases, just following that flow and also connecting with the body and with the emotions and letting all that happen so that person finds their way uh, of connecting more as sound. And it's very organic to sing in pitch when you're connecting as sound.
Hmm.
Uh, so, but it's very challenging for me, for example, to just go out of the place of the artist and just witness that process.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's harder for me than for the two partners that I work with, Ronaldo Crispim and Pedro Consorti, creating this project called Música do Círculo, and this practice called Música do Círculo, because they're less institutionalized musicians than I am.
Hmm.
I did the whole journey of, music school, music university, and all that, and they didn't. And so sometimes they help me out a lot with that.
Hmm. Well, I want to explore some of the pillars of the Musicato Circular work because there's such good juice in the foundations that you bring. But I'm thinking it'd be great to pause and maybe give listeners a direct taste of what it is that we're talking about. So I'm wondering, Zuza, if you would guide like a little 5 minute practice that they can sing along with and bring their voice, whether they're listening in the car or out for a walk. Um, that yeah, I'll
Yes.
mute myself and let you interact with our listeners for a few minutes, because there's just nothing like following along with a good Zuza practice.
For sure, for sure. Yes. So one of the pillars of this work is improvisation. So there's nothing planned, and you mentioned we might do something like that, but we didn't plan for anything. So let's see what comes out. So first, I would love to invite you to just breathe with yourself for a while. Yeah, just take a moment just to be aware of what is alive inside of you right now, with no judgment, just noticing what is present, maybe connecting to your breath. And I'll turn original sound on in my end, but you can keep exploring. And I would like you can, if your eyes are closed, you can keep them closed, or you can open them. But I'm going to explore a few sounds, and I want to invite you to explore them with me. Fingers snapping, the sound of your chest, the sound of your belly, the sound of your thighs, the sound of your tongue click, the sound of your claps. It can be low, it can go higher. The sound of your voice, if you would just breathe in and just let any sound out, like just pick a vowel and just pick a pitch, and after I count to 4, you just let it out. 1, 2, 3, and Dum bing dum dum bing dum dum bing dum dum bing dum dum. You can sing with me. Dum 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 dum. Yes, and you can sing this groove. I would like to ask you to just sing this groove a bit while I improvise over it. And now perhaps we can switch. I will sing the groove. And you can sing whatever you want over it. They could be just long tones. Or it could be made up languages. Whatever comes out, just let it go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And if you could slowly come back and perhaps join me in this melody. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then we have all this space. And in this space, I would like to invite you to improvise with rhythm. Yeah, 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 yeah. With claps. But always coming back to yeah, 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 yeah. And now improvise with your claps again. Freely, yeah. But come back to yeah, 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 yeah. Now improvise with your chest. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now chest and claps in whatever way you like. Yeah, 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 yeah. Chest, claps, and snaps. Go. Yeah, 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 yeah. One more time. Claps, chest, and snaps. Go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Whatever sounds in your body you want to explore. Coming back to yeah, 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 yeah. And now with your singing. Always come back to yeah, 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 yeah. Now sing freely. Come back to yeah, 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 yeah. Go free. Come back. Yeah, 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 yeah. And go free. And back to yeah, 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 yeah. And go free. Back to yeah, 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 yeah. One last time. Keep going. Keep going. Improvise freely.
Mm,
Yay!
I hope
A
listeners
bit
had
longer
as
than 5 minutes, but
yeah, you could have just kept that rolling. I hope listeners had as much fun as I did with that one.
did it flow on your end? It's
It
just,
did, yeah. And I just love the joy of improvisation and setting up a context because I think improvisation is probably one of the most terrifying possibilities for many people, whether it's
Mhm.
improvising in movement, improvising in thought, improvising in voice, and how more and more how necessary it is. Like as we started our conversation, just talking about the terrible floods in the south of Brazil today and the many different challenges on so many global levels that we're facing, that we need to have a capacity to connect with what's happening
Mhm.
and respond in a way that's not known beforehand,
Yeah.
and to maybe respond in a way that's beautiful and carries whatever is happening into something that's never been experienced before.
Yes. And you know, the one thing that comes to me uh, is that the we started doing this work like in a park. Every month we would have a circle and people would come. It started with like 9, 10 people every month. This was like 11 years ago. And then eventually we started to grow until we had like 150 people in the park just doing flows like this for more than an hour non-stop. Just, regular people, people that were passing by or people that started to enjoy coming, and it was so magical and so special to improvise with the people in that way, and the things we would figure out, as you're saying, the solutions that would. Oh, thank you. I should sound off. The solutions that would come naturally for as a result of the process of the flow, and magic always happened because we were improvising, we were present, we were with the people, and we were joyful, excited, happy because of being together with the people making music. But the most special part was always the silence at the end.
Mm,
There is this different quality of that silence, and and it's so easy to forget. I don't know exactly why. Just now, we did the flow, and there was so much like excitement after this, leading this. And was, oh, okay. There's all this flowing, and I noticed the tendency of my tendency of not opening that space,
mm, yeah.
because that is a sacred space, and as such, it can be a scary space,
Hmm.
and but I've been like, my story with this work has been the story of a relationship to that silence. And in our meetings, it started to grow. It used to be just a few seconds, just like after a performance.
Hmm.
There are a few silences before the first people start clapping. And then it started to grow and grow to minutes, 5, even more, with 100 people in silence. And yeah, I'm sure that this is also ancestral, Like it's very powerful to be in silence with people.
Mhm.
And there are different kinds of silence. That's something that has always interested me.
Mhm.
Like awkward silence, like rest silence, uh, everyone in their own world silence. And there's this like this God science silence,
Mhm.
which is like this shared full presence silence that is that this musical experience has taught me.
Yeah.
Does any of that make sense,
Oh,
Carl?
it makes complete sense. Like there is this sacredness or holiness to the silence, especially in the experience after flows when there's so much moving and so much energy and aliveness, and then to just rest in that without needing to add anything to it or subtract anything from it, but it does it feels like a nutrient dense silence.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think we're just used to, with technology and information, every space being filled in, that our attention, we don't have times where we're just
yeah,
bored or quiet, that there's always a phone, there's always a message coming in from somewhere. And I think preserving those silences is like preserving, protected wildlife or something. It's so essential for the psyche to have these periods of resting in that silence.
yeah. We don't have pauses in our conversations to listen. And one thing that this work has really uh, showed me is that, like, okay, the way I make music is also the way I talk with people.
Hmm.
Because because you mentioned the elements, the basic elements of this work. One of them is improvisation. So this opening for us to improvise together, and there's a lot of listening involved. There's a lot of choice involved. There's a lot of play involved. And the choices I make in this play, the way I play, the way I listen is not different in music than in ordinary life.
Hmm.
So I remember clearly like this sensation, okay, this is affecting me outside of the music.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Play is this other pillar or foundation of your work. And I always love there's a line from Thinley Norbu Rinpoche, who's a Tibetan teacher, that says, serious mind is always exhausted, and play mind always has energy. And again, it feels like just like improvisation, play is such an essential element to bring to challenging, disconnected times, because so many adults I know don't have a context of play in their lives, in their movement, in their voice, and what opens up as far as learning. And there's all sorts of studies on how much faster we learn something when there's a quality of play or a game to it.
Yeah. Uh, Play is ancestral. Sports also, but not so much. Like I would say that we took play and made it into sports. So, for example, football, you have the Super Bowl, right? So, if you had to pick one, you can have either the Super Bowl or you can have people playing football in their yards, in the streets, with their families, with their neighbors. If you had to choose, which one is more essential?
Hmm.
We can let go of the Super Bowl if the athletes go on strike. There's no Super Bowl, but we cannot lose the play.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like with music that we outsource it to someone else so that we can become a spectator, but it's not emerging from within us.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's my point. We do the same thing with music.
yeah.
So it's like Beyonce is singing, she's singing for all of us because we're
Hmm.
not singing anymore.
Yeah.
And I think this is leading to some kind of dead end, I see, because we want to sing.
Hmm.
I see that all around. We want to sing.
Yeah.
And so,
That's what I
and
find.
go
When
ahead.
I've offered elements, like people just drink it like thirsty plants. Like I had no idea I've been longing for body percussion or play, or it's like a hunger that we don't often acknowledge until we get a taste of it. And it's like, oh yeah, I need this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking of the folk traditions here in Brazil, which are still very present. If you if you look for it, you find it. And these folk traditions, they're all about gatherings. They're not about art. There is there is art, there is technique, there is language, there's all of that. But it's very clear that it's all about the gathering.
Hmm.
And so and then it's the way this folk manifestations happen is they're always like parties. They're not concerts. They're not classes.
Hmm.
They are like the closest word I would find is like a party,
Hmm.
but not like a modern party. It's like this thing where everyone gets together and everyone sings and everyone plays, everyone dances,
Yeah.
and then there's a moment that person leads that thing, but then everyone goes back to dancing again, everyone claps, everyone sings along. So this is part of our folk traditions all around the world. But in Brazil, we have some of that preserved. And it's interesting because as as the places quote unquote develop economically, these traditions they tend to go away because they're connected to a certain way of living, and this development changes that way of living into more individualized cultures, like societies like we have in modern. So we lose touch with those traditional ways of being together because they were connected to a certain way of living. And so, in a way, underdevelopment from this economical point of view also creates the conditions for some treasures to still exist. And of course, we want to translate those into a world where people have their material needs
Yeah.
fulfilled.
Hmm. Yeah, I wonder if you could describe it because it seems like you have preserved that in Sao Paulo with the gatherings and where this work emerged for you and Ronaldo and Pedro.
Yeah, so we have this meeting in the park since January 2013 every month. It never failed. And it's like a improvised music gathering uh, with using voice and body percussion. Uh, it's a flow of 1 hour and a half. Everyone is invited. It's free and it's at an open space, a public space. So it's been going for 11 years now. And for us, we recognize in this gathering this element of the folk tradition. So for us, it is a manifestation, is like an urban folk tradition that is being born.
Yeah.
And it has 11 years of age. And these things only happen with community. So yeah, the word we use, it's for us it is a brincadeira, which there's not really a translation for that. It's like a brincadeira is the word for child play. So it's like, children have quote unquote games, but they're not games with rules. They're
Mm-hmm.
like more freely defined games. Uh, that would be called a brincadeira. And in folk tradition, they also call their things, that manifestation, they call it a brincadeira. So for us, it's this tradition that's being born. Uh, this open gathering of Música do Círculo. It's the name we gave to our practice, which is this improvised flow with body music, singing, cultivating these values of presence, of affection, uh, diversity, of letting everyone's music manifest, and using movement, using the space, and totally improvise without much words. So those are some of the characteristics that Música do Círculo has, some of the elements that this work has. And we've been doing this open circle for 11 years, but we have our retreats. We have the teacher trainings, the retreats, a lot of different projects. But the reason we're talking about this one is I think the essence is very much there, as it is
Mm-hmm.
this open gathering for everyone to come. And it's becoming this tradition.
Yeah. So another pillar is this notion of the circle, and that feels important on many levels to this work. Do you want to talk a little bit about what circle means to you?
Yeah, the circle is this place where the circle always has a center, right? And everyone is equally distant from that center. Everyone is in a symmetrical, equal position. Everyone sees everyone. Everyone is seen. So these are facts that have a lot of meaning to them. The circle has a center where everyone can share their contribution. And something happens in this center. So the center is where the community lives. The result of what everyone brings is created in the middle of the circle. So for us, the circle is the metaphorical, the symbol for the values that we cultivate in this practice. The value of seeing people, of allowing yourself to be seen, of recognizing the diversity of individuals, and the uniqueness of creating in relation with the other, with everyone, of this horizontality, where also this potential of going inside the circle and giving your contribution
Mm-hmm.
to the whole group, and then coming back. So it's essential to this practice, and it's the hardest thing to actually share, because again, the artistic mindset that tends to be the performance mindset that tends to, again, it is beautiful, right? I love performance, I love going to concerts and all that, but sometimes this paradigm carries with it the competition, the judgment,
Right.
and all that. And it's so enrooted in so ingrained in us Is it the right word? Ingrained.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to shift this paradigm into this other one where, okay, we're not recording ourselves, we're not performing to other people, we're not, so the circle has one thing that the circle represents is that we're doing the music inside the circle for the circle itself. We're not doing it for other people to watch. We're doing it for us. So we are interested in the musical quality, let's say, as to the point where it affects the musical experience
Yeah.
that we're sharing. But the gathering, the focus is this musical experience we're sharing.
Hmm. Right. And everyone's a necessary participant and contributor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, someone could just watch and just listen, but it doesn't happen. It's just not something that happens. We always invite people to do whatever they want and participate in whatever way they feel comfortable, in whatever way they want. But I don't think I've ever seen someone just be in the circle silently. It's too much effort to do that. It's much easier to let go and just flow. But yes, some people would just clap on a very obvious place. There are things for everyone to do.
Hmm. Yeah, and I
You know,
appreciate the way that you really hold a context that supports learning and that everything is invitational, and there's this way that you just get coaxed into whatever the flow is without pressure to perform or without fear of getting it wrong, that there's a you 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 all hold such a ripe soil for growing freedom and improvisation and participation.
yeah, and the way for us to hold that space, it has to do with being simple, making it simple. Kind of like how children work, when children get together, when there's some very simple invitations that they're just irresistible.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you're at a birthday party, everyone's singing happy birthday to you. It's just a very easy invitation, very hard to resist invitation.
That's sometimes the only song that people get to sing in modern life is
Yes.
Happy Birthday.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I was thinking, we choose to celebrate the birth of a member of our community by gathering around that person and singing to them.
Having a little fire in the center,
Yeah.
candles on a cake.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like that means something, that we still today gather around people and sing when we want to celebrate their lives. And we don't see that as singing. That's the weird part. We don't
Yeah.
look at that as singing, but it is singing.
Hmm.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. I am reminded. So one of my mentors and friends, Francis Weller, has told this story of when he was doing these men's retreats uh, in the U.S. and Miguel Rivera, who's a teacher from Guatemala, would come up and be a part of it. And Miguel would go back to tell his shamanic teachers what they were doing up at these men's gatherings, and they would say, it's so strange up there because you sing and drum and dance for 5 minutes, and then you talk and process for the next 6 hours of the day. And what we do is we sing and dance and drum for 6 hours, and then we have a little talking and processing for 5 minutes. And that's one of the things I love about this work is how much is actually being metabolized and felt and experienced not through language. Like I remember that first Bobby retreat where I met you, and there's no talk about economics or race or climate or gender. There's like just no words really for the,
Yeah.
the whole entire week. And yet it feels like all of those threads are being metabolized because you're around other people and listening and different cultures coming together, but it's not through the channel of the intellect or psychology. Again, it feels like a much older way of being together.
Yeah. And then when we talk, if we talk from that place, from that experiential wisdom, then this talk has power.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It has silence and it
Yeah.
has rhythm and attunement.
Yeah. It's really, I really noticed how this that you're describing, the talk not connected to embodied experience.
Yeah.
This is very present in all the spaces.
Hmm.
And to the point where in the Western world, for some people, it looks like it's something that it's inaccessible.
Hmm.
So when they connect with someone that talks with some talks from some embodied experience, from some place of embodied experience, it looks like this out of this world thing,
Hmm.
but it's not. This is the world.
Yeah, yeah.
This is nature. This is natural for everyone. But we just I think like schooling and over rationalizing, it just disconnected. This is like a thread that goes from your mind to your heart to your whole body. And after a circle, we have the silence, and then we open for sharing. And we just want to for people to share what is alive.
Yeah.
And then sometimes someone might start to analyze the process, and it's so clear to
Hmm.
see that you see the thread being cut.
Yeah.
And this is the hardest part, I think, Carl, to keep that thread, to keep talking from that place. And because it's fragile.
Yeah.
It's strong, but it's also fragile. I was with Stênio Mendes, that is like one of our great teachers here in Brazil, and he gave us the games that we use together with Fernando Barba, and it's like a person that I really admire, that has really influenced the whole Brazilian community on vocal improvisation, the whole Música do Círculo community, and actually the whole world through the body music scene.
Hmm.
Their activities and their games influence the whole world. And and i and he was telling me how fragile this connection is, and how what he's doing to cultivate it,
Yeah.
uh, this place of deep connection. And he says, I need to, otherwise my brain will go to weird places. I need to stay there. I need to do these things to survive.
Hmm.
And because the whole world, sometimes what all that you hear is in a different direction. And it was just strong for me to hear my teacher saying that. And it just made me commit more to that.
Yeah.
being rooted in a place that's true, that I feel that's truth in my body.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge too that it's hard. There's so many forces pulling us to, faster pace and more information, and that when we're soft and responsive and open to the feeling life, we're also open to the suffering of the world, that we can numb out when we're just in our head or just so we get rhythm and attunement, but that's the whole
Yeah,
spectrum, that we're open to beauty and wonder and also to intense compassion and
yeah,
feeling what's happening on this planet. Like it all becomes more vivid when we enter into that. And
yeah,
I think that's a lot
yeah.
of reason why people don't.
Yes, yes. There's a beautiful reason for that, right? A, a, a reason that beautiful in the way that it's a way to protect, to take care of something that might hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded, I was talking to you about how Charles Eisenstein's book and work, how it has impacted me, and this thing he talks about interbeing, this experience of interbeing, and 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 he's saying, people get a glimpse of that in many different ways, and sometimes it might be psychedelics, it might be whatever experience you have, and for me, Música do Círculo was that
Hmm.
way, of a strong, very very powerful way of very powerful interbeing experience. It's just a very strong feeling of being one with others.
Yeah, I feel that too.
And yeah. And one thing that he also talks about is this thing you just mentioned, that uh, in this notion of interbeing, everything that's happening to everyone, it's happening to us.
Hmm.
And this is challenging. This
Yeah.
is tough.
And it also shifts our behavior when we recognize that we're not just preserving us isolated self or an isolated family or an isolated culture, but interbeing is, from Buddhist terminology, that's where that bodhisattva heart comes in, that someone else's suffering is my suffering. And how do I live
Mm,
in a way that reduces suffering for all, not just a chosen few?
mm,
And I do think that Musica do Circolo gives that sense of a self embedded in a field and how we move and sense and create one living body.
yeah. And I really feel like celebrating, like acknowledging, and like showing my gratitude for this space that you're holding. Because as I was telling you before the talk, there's this bridge that I feel compelled to cross, to create, to strengthen this bridge between the place that I come from, like a musician, a musical educator, that started to bump into things that I did not have repertoire to deal with, and then trying to describe it and understand it, and then this conversation is very important to me because it's really this bridge between this experience and this whole field, this whole community, this whole world of people describing, dealing, discussing uh, embodiment and spirituality and soul work. And it's like I have such a desire to connect this network. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes sense. And I have a strong desire to connect that network too. I think I've noticed for myself with going deeper into, grief work and bearing witness, how much these qualities are needed, that you have to have play in order, like it's again, it's that stretch. Like the more that you go into looking at the challenges, the more you have to be fed by this spontaneity and this the beauty. There's a line from wonderful shaman Martin Prechtel. It says, I don't know exactly, but it's basically like when you forget what to do, when the way is lost, always make beauty, always feed what needs feeding. Like that's the essential thing. And I think that this work is such a palpable example of feeding what needs feeding and making beauty together in community.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting toward the end of our time, and I'm wondering if you could just share a little bit about like different ways that people can be introduced to this work. So you have the retreats and then some different workshops, and then you have a few uh, teacher trainings starting in the US and in Europe and in Brazil.
Yes. Yes, thank you for opening space for that. Uh, we have we have this twice a year. We have a retreat here in Brazil. People come from all around the world. And we always have groups of like more than 10 nationalities coming together. It is a beautiful 1 week experience where people really get the feel of all this that we're talking about. Uh, I'm also always touring in Europe and in the US, so we might there might be opportunities to meet over there. Also, my partners. So we do have like an Instagram page where we talk about where we spread the news when we're going somewhere. And yeah, for many years we had people telling us, how do we learn that? We want to lead this kind of experiences. And eventually we started, okay, let's understand what it is to be able to share it, right? In the beginning we were just doing it, and many years just doing it. And then when you have to share it, okay, so you have to understand what it is in a way that you can uh, share and convey. And you've been a part of that process, right? You studying with us and with all the material we created for that process to happen and for that learning to take place and all the processes. And we have this new teacher training that is going to happen both in person and online, right? And we're starting them in the US, in Europe, and in Brazil in August, September, depending on the place. Um, and it's like a long training. It's like it takes around 2 years because there's a lot of things to cover. There's a lot of things to be experienced. And you know that from all the sides, if you're an experienced singer working with vocal technique, okay, there's a whole world for you to open to explore, involving movement, body percussion, but also group facilitation, you know, because in Música do Chico, we understand that we are artists, we're educators, and we're group facilitators all at the same time. So there's all this field for you to explore. Perhaps you were a group facilitator and you want to have more music into what you do, then there is this whole other universe for you to explore with improvisation and singing and body percussion. Um, so it's a 2 year training, but it has 4 modules. So we really open the possibility of people just registering for this very first module so they get a taste of it and then decide if they want to go along with us. And I feel very confident about the transformative power this training has and the quality it has. And yes, so it starts in September in California, in August in Italy, and here in São Paulo also in August. And yes, we would love if you, I really appreciate the opportunity to share the news here.
Mhm.
Uh, we've been more present in Europe, so the teacher training there's a lot of people registered. In the US, it's been a while since we've been cultivating that field, so the rhythm is a bit slower. So I really appreciate the opportunity of talking to people from the US that might be interested. Yeah, in our website, there's all the information. It's musicaldocirculo.com uh, slash training.
Yeah, and I'll put the website in the intro and in the show notes. But I can't recommend that training highly enough. It's you all are such skillful facilitators, and the I just kept when I was in the week in Brazil, I kept wishing and sending out like, oh, I wish this person could experience this. I wish the whole world could experience this week and this way of being together. So it's a beautiful training.
Yeah. And it was a
Yes.
blessing to have you with us, really,
Yeah.
because we are in a circle and everyone brings such beautiful, interesting contributions. And there's infinite power in that, and we're just starting to access it. But just to like today, I'm being able more to also to experience that perspective that you bring to our training, and that's so important.
Mm. Well, I'm wondering as we close if you have like a an aspiration or an intention of kind of where this work might go.
Oh, I really connect to what you just said, that everyone should experience this sort of practice. And that's really what I care about. It doesn't have to be Música do Círculo. It doesn't have to be with me. But that experience, it doesn't have to be paid. I'm like when I think about what do I want more and more and more people doing this because it has this profound effect on the quality that we relate to each other. And we need to look at that, look at the way we relate to each other. For example, in our circles, I mean, there's no possibility of ever having a political barrier. Oh, only this, if you voted for this person, you can't join the circle. It's inconceivable.
Mhm.
We're there in a layer that is way beneath all that.
Yeah.
And we're connecting as human beings. And I think we are in these times, this is so important, so helpful, and not in a way that, oh, we have to do this to survive. No, in a way that it feels real good and we are thirsty for it, like you said. So my inspiration is that we manage to, and when I say we, I mean all of us that are committed to it, that we manage to go into more spaces, to go into places of work, to go into places, into neighborhoods, communities. So it becomes like capoeira, like gym class, like everyone goes to the gym.
Hmm.
So something like that, our musical gym, in the way that is present in everyone's lives, a way for us to care for our poetic beings in relation. Um, yeah,
I love that. I share in that vision and aspiration. So thank you so much, Zuza. It's a real delight. I feel like I could go on and on talking for hours about these topics, but it's been beautiful to talk with you.
thank you so much, Carl. For me also, it was very special. I really long for these conversations They are a tool to help clear things out in our minds, I feel. And there's something about knowing that this will be witnessed by other people. So it's just, I really love this effort we're doing to just clear this field and make things clearer. And yes, and hope we do that again. Perhaps we do it the other way around. We do a podcast for the Música do Círculo community where you can join us.
That'd be beautiful. Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you enjoy this podcast, it's great if you want to share it with friends or post about it on social media. Also, you could make a donation to support the podcast or find out more information about our classes and offerings at our website, embodimentmatters.com.